You spend 20 minutes writing a caption. You pick exactly the right words. You tell a story. You share a tip. You end with a call to action. You hit post. And then you check back in like an hour and realize it's not getting any engagement, or at least not the engagement you hoped. Are people even reading what you spent 20 minutes on perfecting? So you start to wonder, am I wasting my time? Should I even bother with captions? Is the scroll so fast now that none of this actually matters? That is exactly the question we are digging into today. And the answer is more nuanced than just write less or write more. It depends on what you were trying to accomplish and who your audience actually is. Welcome to Hey Tori, the podcast where I answer your real digital marketing questions from quilters, crafters, and creative entrepreneurs just like you. I am Tori McElwain, digital marketing coach, quilter, and founder of the Digital Marketing Magic Coaching Program, or the DMMC. Every episode, I take a real question or struggle and walk you through exactly how I would coach it. Today, we are talking about content strategy on social media. Specifically, how long should your captions actually be? When does the visual do the heavy lifting? And how do Facebook and Instagram play by different rules? We are also going to talk about how to figure out what your audience prefers, because that matters more than any blanket advice that I can give you. So let's get into it. Before I jump into this next question, I want to share with you that the DMMC, the Digital Marketing Magic Coaching Program, is open. And we have an awesome bonus right now, which is the Clarity Report, the Creatives Clarity Report, where we take a really great snapshot of your business and how it shows up in searchability online. So that includes SEO, which is search engine optimization, and GEO, which is basically AI search. I look at it with a custom GPT and I look at it as a human consumer, and you get a snapshot of all three. So that's open right now. I'm going to be closing the doors to the DMMC for at least 2 or 3 months while I get through H&H, which is going to be a consumer show in Chicago. So if you are interested on getting coaching help for your marketing, it is a great time to join before the summer, because summer is an excellent time to set up systems and analyze and tweak and fix everything. Okay, so let's get into our question today. This question is our first listener question ever submitted to Hey Tori, which means I am extra excited to answer it. And it was submitted by Cindy. So Cindy sent in a series of questions asking about captions, specifically for Instagram and Facebook. She observed that she mainly doesn't read captions, especially if she clicks on that more button. And if that caption is longer than like a paragraph, she keeps scrolling. And Cindy shared that she tends to market according to her own behaviors. So she quit writing nice captions and instead tries to convey whatever she's talking about in the picture or the video or the first 5 words that they'll see. And she asked me directly, are you writing longer storytelling content because of the algorithm or for the benefit of building a relationship with a consumer? And do you think most people take time to read them? And maybe Facebook is different? I want you to know here that I absolutely love her questions. I'm so glad she sent me all of her thoughts. It gives me a little more context to work with. And if you have a question, go ahead and send me the question. You can send me a rant. You can send me a series of questions just like this. But I am excited about her questions. So Cindy, I want to say this right away. Your instinct is not wrong. You are observing something real about how people actually behave on social media. The question is, what do you do with that observation? Because the answer is not just write short captions, and it's also not write long captions because the algorithm likes it. The answer is, it depends on the job you're asking that piece of content to do. And that is what we're going to unpack today. So without having Cindy directly in front of me and being able to ask her follow-up questions, I am going to assume a few things. I am going to pull from my experience with helping others with their social media, along with questions that I get directly in group coaching with the DMMC and things like that. So here's what I see underneath Cindy's question and what I've seen under a lot of my clients' questions. She may feel like she's completely wasting her time on social media, and in particular, writing captions. Again, the blanket advice here is not something I can give a black and white yes or no, that you need to write shorter captions, or yes, you need to write longer captions. They both have a role to play in social media. So the first question I would ask Cindy, and for everyone listening, why are you on Instagram? Why are you on Facebook? What is the goal of your social media? And you may have more than one answer, right? It could be to stay top of mind. It could be to grow your email list. It could be connection, building a community of like-minded quilters. Whatever your goal is on social media, you need to make sure it's clear, or you will keep feeling like it's a waste of time. Or maybe you'll feel like you're feeling like you're overwhelmed with just trying to keep up. But if you have a clear goal, it can guide you. So that's my first question to everyone listening is why are you showing up on that particular social media platform, whether it's Instagram or Facebook? Then the next thing, and this is going to be one of the most important things, is going back to our customer conversation in an earlier episode. Who is your ideal customer and do they read captions? You are not your ideal customer. But Cindy is picking up on a habit that, again, many Instagram users have. Instagram is a very visual heavy platform. It's visual first. So your caption needs to be as long as it needs to be. Now, if you're rolling your eyes at me, I totally get it. But your goal and your ideal customer matter more for this answer than anything I can tell you. Most Instagram users scroll until they find something they connect with. They'll read that first line of text and they'll decide from there whether or not they're going to read more. That is why we put a hook in the first sentence to encourage them to read more. The caption can be used in a few different ways. So a caption's job is either to stop the scroll, to give context on what they're seeing, or to invite them to take the next step. And once you know the overall goal of your social media plan, the specific job this post is doing, and who your ideal audience is, the length question starts to answer itself. So let's break this down by platform because Cindy had asked about Instagram and Facebook, and she did notice that they may be different. So on Instagram, you have roughly the first line, maybe two, of your caption before the reader has to tap that more button. And that is where you typically put your hook. That's all the real estate you have. So putting text on the image or the video itself can be much more effective on Instagram, especially for our quilting audience. We are very visual. If the visual conveys the tip, the emotion, or the story, the caption becomes a bonus. It adds depth for the people who want to read more. But the visual does the stop the scroll work. Now, here's a nuance worth knowing. Instagram's search functions have improved significantly, and the captions do contribute to how your content gets discovered inside the app and sometimes outside of it. So having keywords in your caption, not like stuffed, just naturally placed, can help new people find you. It helps the algorithm know who to show your post to. So having keywords in your captions can help in that way as well. But I would not write a long caption just for the algorithm. I would write a caption that serves the human first and naturally includes a keyword or two. Facebook is genuinely different. The feed layout shows more text before the cutoff, which means you have more room for a longer hook. You could do a beginning of a story or question that makes someone want to tap that see more button. But Facebook also tends to be a significantly older demographic, and depending on your audience, they may be more accustomed to reading longer posts. It's worth testing, right? So for the quilting industry specifically, we know from the 2025 Quilter survey that the average quilter is female in her 60s and describes herself as comfortable with technology. That is someone who grew up reading, not just scrolling, which means your quilting audience may actually be more likely to read a caption than the average Instagram user. So let me pull you back there if you were distracted. It means that your quilting audience may actually be more likely to read a caption than the average Instagram user. All right, let's get into actually creating a caption and a few of my tips for like best practices on actually creating a caption worth reading. One of my favorite pieces of advice that I received about social media was to create an F shaped caption. Now, what does that mean? So, I want you to picture what a capital F looks like. You have the longer line at the top and it gets shorter as it goes down, kind of like an upside down pyramid, but a line to the left. This means to help a reader read the caption that is a little bit longer, you can make the first couple of lines longer, the next one slightly shorter as they go down. It creates a very pleasant reading experience, and they're more likely to read that caption. You also want to think about your longer captions as like newspaper paragraphs. Like for each sentence or two, it gets its own paragraph. Because Cindy is right, and she pointed out that nobody, and I 100% agree with that, if she even thought about this, but nobody wants to read a wall of text. So give it some breathing room, give it all those spaces. Now, how I actually do this for longer captions. So I do tend to do storytelling. I will dictate to my phone what I want to say and then go back and edit it. And I believe it was Stephen King that said, you're going to delete 80% of what you write. So don't be afraid to write what you want to write and then edit it down. Now, if all of this sounds a little complicated, if writing short, punchy stories or even just that hook part seems really complicated and hard to do, I want you to know that it's very much a practice. Writing for social media, it's a skill you can learn and you can get better and better at it the more you do it. So, this actually leads us directly into what I want you to actually do. So, some actions that I want you to take. And this is what I would suggest to Cindy. And honestly, what I want really all of you to do instead of guessing, I want you to go, okay, step one, let's just break this down into steps. So, step one, ask your audience directly. Instagram story polls are perfect for this. So, ask something like, quick question. When you see my post, do you read the whole caption or mostly look at the image? And then give them the yes or no, or not yes or no, but probably whole caption, image. And that gives them a really easy way to vote. It'll be like a 30-second poll, and it will give you real data about your specific audience, not just some aggregated data about Instagram users in general. So you can also post a poll directly in your feed, right under your post. But the point is, you don't have to guess, you can just ask. Okay, so that was number one. Number two, then experiment. So run a small experiment. I love experimenting with marketing. I think it's really fun and interesting. And we have actually an entire section called experimentation inside the DMMC, which helps you experiment with different things. But it's run an experiment. So maybe for the next, let's say 4 weeks, you alternate between shorter, punchier captions and slightly longer, like storytelling captions or tips where you're actually teaching a little something. Then look at your engagement, not just likes, but comments and saves. So comments tells you someone felt moved to respond. Saves tell you someone found it useful enough to come back to. And then compare that to your goal. So are those metrics lining up with your goals? Okay, and then the third thing I want you to do for experimenting is more of a mindset shift. So don't think about captions as one size fits all, right? So different content has different jobs. A reel showing a different quilt, that visual mostly does the work. Your caption can be very short, maybe 2 lines even. A post where you're sharing a tip or behind the scenes story about your design process, that might earn a slightly longer caption because people who stop on it are already interested. So match the caption length to the content's purpose. And here's another core principle I want you to walk away with. Oh, wait, before I go into that, let me review that one time. One, ask your audience directly. Don't guess, ask. And you can ask them every couple of months. like even every quarter. You could put it on your calendar. Number two, run an experiment and see if what they voted for is actually working. And then number three, you're going to fit the caption length to different content. You're going to write the caption as long as it needs to be. All right. And then a core principle I want you to walk away with is short captions are never a bad idea as long as you're saying what you need to say, right? But the goal is not to be short. The goal is to be clear and intentional. Those first 5 words that have been mentioned, that Cindy mentioned, that I've mentioned, they are going to do the heavy lifting. So you do want to make sure those count. So one of the things inside the DMMC that we do every month is the social media social. It's a live event. It's a time when we meet once a month to go over social media. We talk about what's new, what their social media is doing, particularly look at if they're struggling with something or if they're planning a launch, how we can build content around that launch, or if they had a reel, well, because it's typically a reel, sometimes it's a post, that goes really big. And we look at what did they do well and how did this work and how we can do that again. We also have an entire library of resources dedicated to social media, which helps you build out reels, helps you build out captions. And we even have the Break It Up bot, which helps you create captions. So it takes a piece of long form content, like a blog post, and break it up for different platforms. But I want to get a little bit broader now. So I want to take a step back a little bit away from just looking at caption length. And I want to address everyone listening. So, one of the biggest mistakes that I see with social media and business owners using social media, it's not the caption length. It's not even like having poor hooks. The biggest mistake I see when it comes to social media and looking at like my clients' accounts is not knowing why they're there, not talking to their ideal customer, and not doing the one thing that social media will reward you for, no matter what social media app you're on. And that is engagement. Now, I'm not talking about people commenting on your post. That's not what I'm talking about. It's true that within social media, especially places like Instagram and Facebook, visual hooks help, textual hooks help, getting trending audio helps for your reels and for your posts. Writing captions with keywords helps, but social media has its own set of instructions. And if you want to show up fully on a platform, then you need to follow as many of those instructions as we know about. That's what they call the algorithm. And it does more than just sending your post out. One of the most overlooked places is engaging with other accounts. So many of my clients post and ghost. They think that's all they need to do. But if you want to show up and actually build a community, you have to engage outside of your own posts. So I'd like to share my 3-3-3 rule. Now, I totally made this up for myself. And I did it to help me get out of a rut, sometimes out of my own little bubble if I'm posting and ghosting and that's all I'm doing. Or it also helps when I feel like Instagram is a chore. But I've chosen it as my main social media platform. I did consider leaving for a while, I will say. But right now, it's easier to show up consistently on Instagram because I know it so well than it is to shift platforms at this moment in time. So look for that in the future. But so when the 3-3-3 rule, when I go on Instagram, I find 3 posts to like that I genuinely like. I find 3 posts to comment on, and there are 3 different posts than what I liked. So and ones that I genuinely want to engage with. And then I do 3 other things. So 3 likes, 3 comments, and 3 other things. Now, there's so many things to do on Instagram. So one of these other things could be I message 3 people through their stories. Or maybe I repost a post that I think my audience would genuinely enjoy, or I share content in my stories. So it's just about doing a little more engagement. And ideally, you're doing this with your ideal client. So give that a try. See if you have not only better engagement on your own post, but you start to actually enjoy Instagram again. Okay, so one more thing before I keep going with Cindy's question is that If you're watching my Instagram, my ideal customer is not your ideal customer, especially on Instagram and social media. My customer is a business owner, not a quilter or a crafter. What I share on my HeyTori.tech Instagram and Facebook page has a different goal than yours. My strategy has an entire ecosystem that you cannot see from Instagram. And if you're here listening to this podcast, you may be able to guess some of it because you're more inside that ecosystem. But I would encourage you to think outside of social media and to listen to our Beyond Social Media episode if you're spending more time analyzing and building captions than you are actually making sales. Okay, so I want to take this idea of experimenting with social media and give you a real story from inside the DMMC. One of my members, Tammy, is a long arm quilter, and she is currently building up her YouTube. So she started with sharing a video every Friday. And she's using what she's learning in the DMMC to experiment and see what works best for growing her YouTube. So, a lot of the things that she is doing right now is to see what works. Right now, the consistency of showing up every Friday is really working for her. She learned just recently, she shared with us that she decided to not post her Friday video on Instagram directly, but instead post a picture and send people to her YouTube. And she noticed that when she did that, she had more YouTube subscribers. I absolutely love this example because Tammy is doing exactly what we need to be doing. She's spending most of her time on currently her customers' quilts. She does custom long arming, and she's spending time learning about her platform and analyzing what is working and then doing more of that. And then having like one thing that she's experimenting with, like over the next few posts. Now, I'm not in her head. I don't know exactly what she's thinking, but that is what she's been sharing in our social media socials and in our group coaching. And I absolutely love the way that she's approaching this, and her YouTube is growing. Okay, so here is your Hey Tori takeaway for this episode. I want this to take you like 20 minutes or less. I want you to create one Instagram stories poll this week and ask a question. So if you want to know this answer that we went over today from your audience directly, ask them when you see my post, do you read the caption or mostly look at the image? Or maybe you can ask, do you prefer short tips in my captions or longer stories? That's it. One poll. Go ahead and post it this week. And you can even post it in your feed as well as your stories. And I always suggest you share the results with your audience. It helps them see where they stand with other people, and it can spark some really cool discussions and more votes, which is awesome. So the more people you can get to vote on it, the better. Then use this data for your own posts. So you're not your ideal customer. Your scrolling behavior might be different from your ideal customers. The only way to really know is to ask. And a stories poll is the fastest, lowest effort research tool you have available to you right now. So one poll is probably going to take you 5 minutes. That is your assignment. So if today's episode resonated with you, if you have been wondering whether the time you spent on captions is actually worth it, I want you to know that this kind of content strategy clarity is exactly what we build inside the Digital Marketing Magic coaching program. Inside the DMMC, we work through your nurture strategy together, which is all about building the kind of content that creates real relationships with your audience, not just likes, not just social media, actual long form content as well. You get access to the Break It Up bot that we talked about today, a live group coaching every month, and one-on-one coaching if you choose, a personalized marketing plan, and a community of creative entrepreneurs who actually get what it is like to run a quilting or crafting business. The best first step, if you would like to join the DMMC, is a free 30-minute strategy session with me. We will look at your business together. We'll talk through where you're stuck. We'll figure out your clearest next move. There's no pressure, no pitch, just clarity. And the link is in the show notes. And like I said before, it is open now with an excellent bonus. It's my favorite bonus to give because it really gives you a nice starting place because it tells you what you're doing well and what you can improve. Love it. I love the Creatives Clarity Report. And to Cindy and every single person who has a question or a rant that they've been sitting on, feel free to send it to me. The link to submit your question is in the show notes below. It's a Google form, and I read every single one, and your question might just become a future episode, just like this one did. So until next time, keep creating, keep marketing, and remember, you do not have to figure this out alone. I'm Tori McElwain, your digital marketing coach. Talk to you soon.